this is your X star now. And this is your utility curve. So when these two not intersect, here the answer. The highest P star is found here. Touching P star or X star. Easy? Yeah. Let me go watch. Okay, so this was the revised distribution. And so the P, as you can see here, is not ordinary P. This P is called total revenue. Right? $100 or 100 units on X. Now there's another method to find. If you are using the utility approach, this is the way we start. Now if you are using another approach, the demand approach, then what's the highest amount that we can charge him for X star? Units are X. Now if you can recall, the demand curve represents consumers one.
Remaining income one after paying for X. Now, suppose the monopolist know the utility function of this person, the monopolist can offer a ticket or daily offer. You can offer to the consumer an amount P for X star. So it's up to the consumer to accept or reject. Now, this P is not the price. Price normally is the price for 1 unit. This P is not. It's the amount that you pay for X star units are X. Let's say for 100 units are X. So clearly this P is not the price for 1 unit. It's the amount of money, the lump sum amount of money you pay for X star. Now if you are the monopolist, then if you are charging P star for X star, units are X, what's the highest P star that you can charge for X star? Okay, so if you look at this diagram, now, if this person don't buy, where will he be? So the monopolist is offering X star for P star. Now, if he don't buy, how much will his X be? 0. And how much will his income be? This income, right? So therefore, he will be here. Now then, what will be his utility if he don't buy? Now, if he's here, how much is his utility? It will be this amount. It will be on this curve, right? So if you don't buy, his utility will be this. Now, if he buy, what will happen? He pays P star, and so his income amount becomes this, right? Okay? But his X will be how much now? If he buys. His X will be this, right? Follow? Okay, so therefore you will get this bundle. Now, at this bundle, how much will be his utility? Exactly the same as if you don't buy. Okay, therefore, this amount makes it indifferent. Right, because after paying this amount for X star, it becomes indifferent. Because buy also you get U0, buy also you get U0. Therefore, I think this is the highest. So this is the highest P star you can charge him. You cannot charge him anymore. Because anything more than P star means that his remaining will be here. Therefore, it's X will be X star. I think you can see that if okay, so if it's here, then his utility will be higher or lower? Lower. So I think the maximum you can charge him is P star. Okay. Anything more than this now, you will not apply. Can you understand? Means the maximum amount that you can transmit cannot be more than this now. So if you don't buy the cost, if this person don't buy, it's actually good. So it is become a big deal. So therefore you cannot get it. How much is it? You don't buy. This curve right. Now, so we're going to start with this amount. E. So every point on this line. Every point on this line that X. If you charge in very small amount, okay, this is for 100 in this one. So if you charge in you charge in very small amount, $10, then you'll be here. So you charge in very small amount, it becomes 4 minus, right? So this T0 for this. So you end up here. You think you will buy? You are right, because if you buy, you get this amount, and it should really come to the right, so therefore you get. So if you buy, that's all right. Nothing for sale to buy. Now, if you are the monopolist, you want to squeeze everything off from here. So if you want to squeeze everything off from here, charge him more. Why charge $10, right? Charge him more. How much more? Now, of course, the more you charge him, the highest you can charge him is where these two lines is at. This line is this line. That's the highest. So you just up here. That's the maximum. Okay? But if you charge him this amount, or this, you end up here, right? So, why don't buy those like that? It's a different round. Don't buy also get this, buy also get this. Okay, so that means this is the maximum. Because you see, anything more than this is income with 4%. And so here again. So you end up here. So you buy. Because if you buy, it becomes first off run. So I think you can see anything below this, anything higher than this, we have put here, right? Or here, right? Understand? Anything more than this, we put below here. You either end up here or here. So the maximum one can charge you is very simple. This amount. Where is this amount? So this line intersect. Right? No more. Because anything more than this is impossible for this guy to buy. Second question. Okay, so that's the maximum. Okay? So the maximum we can charge this guy So this one is calculated. So this time you look at this graph. The maximum we can touch in is where this line. Intersect one. This curve where you go by. At this point, therefore this is the highest discount. Okay? Any questions? Now, if you look at the tutorial, how to solve this problem? Now we have a customer. So you see the consumer in comments. So this utility comes from where? So the utility comes from AX and also unity income Y. But here's two utility functions. Now we are told that income is 16 and there's a constant marginal cost of 1. If you have a monopolist, what's the optimal ticket or limit offer that you can offer to the consumer? So this find for me the optimal P for X star units by X. P for X star units by X. How to find? Okay, so this is exactly what that's not. This doesn't buy. Where would it be? You will buy. No, when you don't buy, this X is how much? How much is Y? X equals 0, Y equals 0. So if you don't buy it, how much will be utility if you don't buy? So, if you don't buy, you'll be here, right? What's the utility? Here, how much? X is how much? Y is how much? Okay, can you give me the utility here? How much? Use which equation this or this? Solve. Equation 1 or equation 2? Equation 1, right? What's the utility equal to? How much? divide this amount, right? What's the maximum amount that you will pay? Divide. The maximum amount you pay will be how much? Yeah, right? Okay. So the divide will be here. That will be the maximum amount that you will pay on this amount. Okay? Which means in divide, how much will be CPT per year? How much? Will be here, right? X equal y equal 1. Here y is how much? Okay, so we have this value. How much is this equal to? Equation 1 or equation 2? Divide is use 1 over 2, right? Okay? So it's equal to x times y. Okay, so that's all. So we have the equation 1. Okay, I think that now sounds very simple. If you are this person, under what condition will you buy? If you are this person, under what case will you buy? You only buy if this is greater than 1. You only buy if this utility is greater than 1. This amount, right? So you only buy if this utility here is greater than this. The offer, if the utility you are accepting it here is higher than here. Okay? So you only buy if this is true. So you will only buy if this is true, so therefore you only buy if this condition is satisfied. So from here you solve for x. Right? So one thing we know for sure, this guy will buy if this is true. Okay, any question? So therefore the monopolist knows that if they offer this amount of x, the consumer, that guy will buy. Right? Now, but his objective is to maximize profit, right? So how much is his profit? Total revenue minus total cost. Agree? Now, if you look at the total revenue, so how much is the total revenue? Let's compare price times quantity. Okay, so in this case, total revenue is this, right or wrong? Total revenue is this, right or wrong? Look at the base price times quantity. This is total revenue. Right, this side to before. This is a special case. This is not for 1 unit, right? It's for 100 units. This is total revenue. Okay? So for this section, this one stands for total revenue. Minus average cost times quantity. So that's it. Okay, so the monopolist wants to maximize this. Now, if you want to maximize this, you you only get this with this person buy, correct? So you only get this profit if this person will buy. And we know that for sure this guy will buy as long as X is equal to this amount. You understand? So all we have to do is to fulfill this constraint. And therefore he will get his profit. So put this inside here. Yes, he will buy. And the monopolist will get his profit. Okay? The only thing now is that the monopolist has found the right amount of quantity. He has now has to decide on what price to sell it. Understand? The quantity is already decided. The only consideration now is that he has to find out how much to charge him. Okay, so therefore you differentiate this and you end up with this. Alright, so from here, set to 0 and we solve. Rearrange the equation and get P as this. Now, so therefore the optimal price to charge him is equal to this. Now, in order to find this, we need to find two things, C and M. Now, M is given as this, and C, is it given? Yes, C is given as 1. Okay, so we have 16 and 1, you put inside here, and so therefore the optimal price will be 12. Clear? Okay, it's problem solved already. So the monopolist will charge him $12 for X star units of X. That's all. Now, we're charging $12 for X star units of X. So if P is equal to 12, and M is given as 16. Alright, so we have all the ingredients to find what is X. This is the amount that you will buy, right? Put 16 here and P with 12 here. Therefore, your X is 4. So therefore, the monopoly should offer 4 units to this consumer for payment of 12, and for sure he will buy. What is the monopoly's profit? I will ask you, how much is his profit? Just find from here. Alright, P is 12, C is 1. So 12 minus X is 4. So the profit will be 8. So we're going to find the profit then. So that's how much. Any problem? So no problem, I'll move on to the next country. Before I look at the second degree price discrimination, so there are two ways to solve problem on the first degree price discrimination. One way is to use the DT approach. Okay, so one way is to use the DT approach. The second method is to use the demand approach. Using the demand approach means we have drawn this line, and from here we stop. Okay, first, the demand curve represents consumers' willingness to pay. How much this guy is willing to pay. Now, just like before, if the monopolist want to sell X star for an amount P, so what's the maximum P you can charge you for this amount? Okay, so we'll set P, the amount P to this area. will send to area B, A, X star, this area. So that's the highest P that you can charge in this area. Now one cannot be more than this area. That's the highest we can go. Okay, so the reason why is because if you look at the first unit, now for the first unit, how much is the consumer willing to pay? If you go to the demand function, it's going to pay out to this amount. Second unit, this amount. Third unit, this amount. Right, so if you add up all this, what do you get? The consumer's total willingness to pay. Right. Now, so if you have to charge him an amount for X star, can you make someone pay you an amount of money that exceeds his total willingness to pay? Impossible, right? So therefore, the maximum we can go is to charge him an amount exactly just equal to this total willingness to pay. Understand? And so you will buy. Anything more than that, you won't buy. So that's the maximum. Therefore, set P to this area. With total willingness to pay. Understand? So you can see that the first degree price discrimination, the monopoly squeeze everything out from the consumer, everything up to the maximum. Okay? Any question? Okay, so if no problem, then I will now move on to second degree price discrimination. So what is the monopoly do? What he does is that he will sell you in a block, different block. The first block, he might sell you at $10. For example, who use second degree price discrimination? Utility companies, telephone company, electricity company. We use a lot of second degree price discrimination. What is that? They will charge you one price for one block, another price for another block. Alright, so when you see monopolies sell electricity to the factory, normally they will charge them $1 for the first 100,000 kilowatt. Right, they will charge $1 per watt for the first 100,000 kilowatt. Now anything more than that, for the next 100,000 kilowatt, they will charge 50 cents. Right, one price for one block. Telephone company also use the same thing. Telephone company, when they charge corporate customer for using the phone, right, they will charge them for the first 10,000 minutes, they will charge 20 cents per minute, and then the next 10,000 minutes, they will charge maybe 10 cents per minute. And if you call some more for the next block, they will charge 5 cents per minute. Alright, so this is called block pricing. Okay. One price for one block. Now, why do this? Why don't charge everything at one price? You can see for yourself, if you sell using block pricing, it's better. As I said before, it means what the monopolies will do is the first block. So on and so forth. Until you cannot touch. Now this is a better scheme. But why do this? Why charge different price for different block? Now, you can don't do it if you want to. But when you wants the monopolist to do it. They just charge one price to everyone for all block, right? Now, if you do that, suppose, you see, if you are the monopolist, where will you produce? You have to maximize profit. We know the monopolist will always produce where? MI and CDN, right? So the monopolist for sure will produce this. And what price can you sell it for? So the profit maximizing price is found here. Alright. Okay, so you can see for yourself this monopolist, how much profit he made. Now, given that this is the profit maximizing quantity, and this is the price, so his profit is found by taking the price minus the average cost. How much is his average cost? This one. Alright, constant, this means constant average cost. Recall? And so, he produced here, his average cost is here. And follow? And so, every unit from 0 to this, you sell at this amount. But the cost to produce for each unit is here. So if you take this minus this, what you get? The profit for one unit. And to find total profit, you take the profit per unit times this quantity. So we know length times breadth equal this rectangle, and so therefore his initial profit is this amount. Alright. Now, so if you don't use block pricing, his profit is this amount. Now, don't you think it's better to use block pricing? The first block from 0 to QM, he sells at this amount. Now, if he wants to sell some more, can that be done? Impossible. Why? Because those people who are willing to pay PM, namely this part, has already purchased. Now why they buy? Because all these people here, they are willing to pay more than PM. You see? For every unit, they are willing to pay more than PM. Now naturally, if you sell at PM, they are very happy to buy. All of them will buy, right? That's why you can sell out to this amount. Now, all these people will buy because they're only willing to pay less than PM. So if you want to sell some more, you have to lower the price to, let's say, you have to lower the price to how much? Because like I said before, this group of people will buy if you continue to sell at PM. And so these people haven't bought yet. So the only way you can sell some more is to lower the price to here. If you lower the price to here, you can sell an additional amount of this. Why? Because these people, they're all willing to pay more than this price. Yeah. And so they will buy. And so you can sell some more this amount. Now, by selling this additional amount, the profit can be further increased by how much? Here. You understand? The profit can be further increased by this amount. Now the reason why is because this additional amount from here to here, the price that the firm receives for every unit from here to here is, but the average cost is here. So the price minus average cost is the profit per unit plus this additional amount. So you can make additional profit. You see, using block pricing, the monopolists can earn more than if they don't use block pricing. With your standard intro analysis, when they don't use block pricing, this is how much they can earn. So the first block from 0 to this, the first block from 0 to this is sell at this price. Then the next block, QD minus QM, right, is sell at this price. So you can make some more profit. Now I'm sure you can see that if he wants to increase his profit, he can sell another block at ground. but not at this price. Maybe lower here, and then you can sell some more, make some more this small profit. But I think the lowest you can go is up to here, right now. Okay, so you can see block pricing is better because why? The monopolist profit can be higher than otherwise. If you don't use block pricing like what you do in intro, you can't make that much profit. But if you use block pricing, your profit can be increased so much more. Okay, so that's the purpose of using block pricing. Okay, so you can see the real world, most utility company do that. They use block pricing. Right. Okay, now there's also another variation of second degree price discrimination. Another variation of second degree price discrimination will be the monopolist will offer this individual a combination of a fixed fee F and a unit price P. Okay, so this is another combination. Offer you a fixed fee F followed by a unit price P. That means what? Now you see telephone company, if you subscribe to Singtel, normally they will charge you a fixed fee $5. Right, now this $5 you have to pay whether you call or don't call. It's a fixed fee. Just a StarHub, you go and rent a movie, they charge you a rental on your box, right? $5 every month. That is actually a fixed fee. Even I don't watch anything, I still have to pay $5, right? They so-called rental of the equipment. Now, so this fixed fee F will charge you a unit price P. This P will be for every unit that you purchase, you will pay additional fee. Okay, so that's what it means. So this is another form of second degree price discrimination. For example, taxi is also the same. Alright, the taxi use a fixed fee. Now the minute you go inside the taxi, $3.20 fixed fee. Alright, you change your mind and you don't want to take the taxi. You walk out, you say, never mind, you can walk out, give me $3.20 first. Because the minute you come inside my cab, you have to pay me $3.20. You must be poorer by $3.20. Otherwise you cannot get out. Okay, so you pay $3.20, you can walk out. Even if you don't use it. And of course, every kilometers you travel, you will charge you $5 per kilometer. Okay? So, this is the kind of arrangement telephone company normally does that. Now, so our consideration now is, if you are the monopolist, what's the highest F and P that you can charge this guy? How much? How to calculate that? Hired as a monopolist in the telephone company, and you're asked to find or calculate the highest F and P that you should charge everyone. So how do we find that? Now, if you stop using the utility method, so using the utility method is this. Now, if you offer your services where you pay a fixed fee F and a price P for every unit you buy, right? So there are two possibilities. One, the consumer don't even take up your offer. Alright. Now, if you don't take up your offer, where will he be? The consumer don't take up your offer. Where will he be? Then his X will be this, and his Y is how much? It's remaining income here. Right, so if you don't take up your offer, for sure you will be here. Now how much will it be utility? This is on this utility curve. Right. So its utility is this amount. If you reject the offer. And if you reject the offer, first his spider line should be here. If you buy 0x, income is this. If you use all his money to buy X, how much X can you buy? You take N divided by the price of X. Now what happens if you take out the offer? Now, whether a person take up the offer or not, depends on how much is the F and P. Alright. Now, if you charge him a very small F, you charge him a fixed fee of $1. Okay, so if he buys, what will happen to his budget line? If you charge him a very small fee, F $1, and a very small price, right, then the budget line will come down here, N minus F. And you charge the price slightly higher a bit. Now, when F fall, his income fall, you can buy less X. And when you increase his P, you can buy some more lesser X. Until his budget line becomes this. Now, do you think he will buy? You will take up the offer. In this case, sure. Why? Because if you take up the offer, his budget line is gray color, I'm sure he will buy. Because on the red color budget line, he can achieve a higher level of what? UDD. Right. You can see clearly that if you don't buy, his UDD is this. By buying, if the F is very small and the P is very small, his budget line is here, you will consume here. Right. On all budget lines, people put standard form. So therefore, in this case, you will buy for it. Right. It's better off buying than don't buy. Now, of course, being a monopolist, your job is not to make him happy. Right? Your job is, since you can discriminate, you try to make him off as much as possible. Right? So what should you do? Raise the F some more until you cannot take it. Now, if you increase the fixed fee some more, the budget line will come down some more. Right? And the F rise further, you can buy lesser and lesser F. Increase F and increase P. Will you still buy? Sure. Because on this line, this utility is still higher than if you don't buy. So not enough. Remember, when you extract everything out from this guy, the monopolist's objective is to squeeze everything out from you until you have nothing more. So increase the F further. How much can you do? And I think the furthest you can go is to increase the F and you increase your P together until the is about to be indifferent. Yeah, I think that's the highest you can do. Because once he's here, he's increased until where? Something like this. This is the limit. You know why? Because if you buy, when his budget line is here, his utility is this. If you don't buy his utility, it's right. So he started turning different. So that's the highest you can go. Because if you're going to squeeze him some more, will he buy? Impossible. So the limit that you can do is to squeeze him until the budget line is tangent to what? U0. Okay? Because if you're going to extract some more from him, his budget line will come down. Do you think he will buy? No, because if you buy, you become better off or worse off. Worse off than if you don't buy. Alright? If you buy, you become worse off. So I think the limit you can do, if you are using utility approach, is to increase the F and your P until to where? Until its budget line is tangent to U0. That's the furthest you can go. Okay, you understand? No more than this. Anything more, you will not buy. Okay? Now, so that's based on utility approach. Now, what about based on demand approach? Now, based on the demand approach, then you can see, we use the demand curve. Now, all the monopolist has to do is to set the price equal to marginal cost. And the fixed fee will be set equal to the consumer surplus. Okay? Now why? Why do this? Why does the maximum? Why cannot do some more? You see? So what happened here is that we set the price to. So what the price that you should set here. Alright, so set the price to here. Now, if you set the price to the marginal cost, how much can the monopoly sell? Okay. What do they call that? Q1. Q star. What do they call it? So you star. Now, so setting the price to Q star. Setting the MC, that means the quantity demanded over here. Now, what would be total willingness to pay? Every unit, this unit is willing to pay this. This unit is willing to pay this. Yeah. Okay, here, right? Okay, so very simple. Why set P to MC? Because if you set price to marginal cost, this unit you pay this, this unit you pay this, this unit you pay this, this unit you pay this. This will take away this area from the consumer. Right. So from 0 to Q star, this amount, the price will take away all this. Every unit you pay this, right? The price will extract this green color rectangle from it. Isn't it? But the fixed fee F, you can charge it in how much? At most, this triangle. So the P will take care of this green color rectangle. The F will take care of this. What is this? This is the consumer surplus. Right. The difference between how much you are willing to pay versus what you actually pay. This is your consumer surplus. Set the F to extract this away. Simple. So set the first two F to the consumer surplus. Now why don't you set F more than here? More than this one here? Okay. Not possible. If you set F greater than this triangle, then the total amount of money that he has to pay will now exceed this one. Total willingness to pay, right? You cannot sell something to someone that he has to pay an amount more than his total willingness to pay. You understand? Therefore, the maximum F you can charge him is this rate all the time. Clear? Okay, so that's it. So that will squeeze everything off. Okay. sell the product to two, so the two retailers will be NTUC and Cold Storage. So this manufacturer sell his product to two retailers, NTUC and Cold Storage. Now both retailers operate in what? Different markets. So Cold Storage operates in Johor Bahru, NTUC operates in Singapore. So two different isolated markets. And the demand function is this. Okay. Now we are told that the demand function for both markets is production, distribution cost, all zero. So all three. Now, suppose the manufacturer is able to set different franchise fee F and wholesale price PW for each retailer. Now, if you are the manufacturer, you are hired to set F and P for NTUC and for Cold Storage. So what's the amount of F that you set for NTUC and PW for NTUC? That means this manufacturer is trying to practice what? Second degree price discrimination. Right? He's trying to squeeze everything out from Cold Storage and NTUC. So what's the maximum F and the maximum PW, the wholesale price? Right, the manufacturer sells to NTUC, the price is the wholesale price, PW. Now, of course, what NTUC sells to you is a different price already. Alright, it's no longer the wholesale price. It's a very high price. Okay. So, how do we find the optimal F and PW? Now, first thing, you have to look at the retailer, if you are the manufacturer. For example, let's look at Cold Storage. You have to look at Cold Storage profit. So the profit of the retailer, Cold Storage, is equal to what? Now, this profit comes from how much X we sell you. Alright. So this profit comes from how much X we sell you, multiplied by the price that he charged you. Alright, the market price he charged you. So that will be his total revenue minus his total cost. Now, how much is his total cost? Cold Storage buy from the manufacturer. He paid the price, the wholesale price PW, multiplied by the quantity that he buy from the manufacturer. So that will be his total cost, right? That he pays, that he has to pay to the manufacturer for X units of X. Every unit of X he pays PW. But more than that, he also has to pay a fixed fee. And right, so therefore that's his total cost. Okay, so if you are the retailer, if you are Cold Storage, what's the optimal quantity that you should sell to maximize profit? So to find the maximum quantity that you should sell to maximize profit is D pi over this, right? Okay, do I need to differentiate P? Yes, because P is a function of this. Right, so therefore this P you have to write as what? This amount. Okay, you have to differentiate with respect to X. Okay? Okay, so from here, we can now d pi over dx to find the optimal quantity that Cold Storage should buy to maximize profit. So dr over dx, you get this set equal to 0. Therefore, the optimal x that he should buy from the manufacturer is this. This quantity will give him the highest profit. Alright? Okay. Now, so for sure we know the retailer, the manufacturer do a calculation. And he knows that the retailer 100% will order this amount from him, because that will give the highest profit. So he's now thinking of how much to squeeze in. Now since cold storage will buy this quantity, and this quantity give him the highest profit, right? So all we have to do is to put this quantity inside here, and inside here, and we can calculate his profit. Alright. So we put inside there, therefore his profit becomes, right, since he buy this amount, put this amount inside here, and inside here, and therefore his profit is here. Okay, so the manufacturer notice that his profit is this amount. Simple. Now, at least you can actually put inside here, because here is already in the form whereby you can actually just solve easily, right? So, given that the cold storage buy this quantity, you put inside here and here, you get this. Alright. Now the only question now is, what's the fixed fee that we should charge him? So the manufacturer already calculated that the retailer is going to make this amount of profit. Alright, so from here you simplify the equation a bit. Some simple simplification. And so the manufacturer calculated and found that the retailer cold storage profit is this. Now, so if you are the manufacturer, what's the highest fixed fee that you can charge him? Don't forget, you have to squeeze everything off from this guy, right? What's the highest fixed fee that you can charge cold storage to the retailer? The highest fixed fee that you can charge him is such that, see, as a manufacturer, you know, you maximize the fixed fee or minimize the fixed fee. You have to maximize the fixed fee, right? What's the highest F you can charge him? The highest you can charge him is such that his profit is what? 0. You cannot charge him. So you cannot charge him the F is so high. I think his profit is negative. Charge is so that the fixed fee, the largest amount you can charge is so that he just make normal profit. Understand? So therefore, set this to 0, and therefore you calculate for F, F is just the maximum amount. Anything more than this amount, you won't buy. Okay? So we already found, that's why the manufacturer needs to calculate his profit. You need to know his profit, then you know how much to squeeze in. Alright? Otherwise, how to squeeze in. So, very simple now. The manufacturer found that the fixed fee should be this amount. The only question now is you have to solve for P. What price to charge him to maximize profit. So let's look at the profit function of the manufacturer, right? Now, the manufacturer profit is equal to what? First, the fixed fee plus what else? Price times quantity. Now, he sell X to the retailer at what price? Not P, the wholesale price PW. Agree? Total revenue minus total cost. What's the total cost? The manufacturer, I mean, you have to have fixed fee plus total revenue, right? We have to minus total cost, right? How much is the total cost? It was given as how much? The total cost was given as how much? Zero. Okay, so that's a minus. Okay? And so, let's see. So the manufacturer saw this, and so now he has to decide only on one variable. What price to charge to maximize his profit? Right. You already know that the optimal F is this. Now you only have to decide on what's the optimal P, PW to charge the retailer. And therefore, to that end, you dpiod PW set to 0, and therefore calculate it and find the PW is equal to 0. Okay, so that's all. Which means if you are the manufacturer, sell to Cold Storage and NTUC, price 0. Charge him a fixed fee, this will do. That will give the manufacturer the highest profit. Now, given that PW equals 0, therefore the fixed fee is how much? 16 over 12. Alright, okay, so problem solved. So this is the fixed fee P and F that you should charge to the retailer. Any question? Any problem? Now, so that's how much you should charge Cold Storage. What about NTUC? What about NTUC? Wait. Look at here. Where's the blue? NTUC also this. Cold Storage also this. Are they symmetry? Are they symmetrical? You can just use symmetry. Even if you do the whole problem again, waste of time. Same answer. Understand? Because by looking at here, I saw NTUC also the same. Unless it's different. Okay, but if they're the same, then you have to work waste time to do. You don't believe you do everything again, you are just believe repeating what I do here. Therefore, you get the same answer. Okay? Okay, so no problem, let's go for a break. Those of you who assignment 2, if you charge a very high price for the camera and a very low price for the film, so the film is almost a giveaway. Now, another manager takes the opposite position. Another manager says that the company should charge a very high price for the film, but a very low price for the camera. Okay, so we have two opposing views. One manager thinks that they should charge a high price for the camera. Now, this is something like the printer that you buy outside. There's always this debate about what price should we set for the printer. Now, some company thinks that it's better to set a very high price for the printer, but a very low price for the ink. But some other company will think the other way. They think that it's better to sell the printer at a very, very low price so that people will buy. And then you charge them a very high price for the ink. But the ink cartridge, if you work outside, you need at least 2 ink cartridges per month. So 1 year you use 24. And if 1 ink cartridge you charge 30, you can make thousands, a lot of money from there, right? Just on the ink alone. Close to $700. Okay, so this is the view of the company. So therefore, this question is the same. Should we charge a very high price for the camera and a very low price for the film? Or a very, very low price for the camera to attract them to buy and charge them a very high price for the film? Okay, so two managers take different positions. Now, assuming that the demand for the film is linear and identical, and you are given that the cost of producing the film is constant, and the cost of producing the camera is 0. Now, assuming that consumers have not owned camera yet, so what's the optimal price for the film and the camera? Now, in order to find this, first, you write down the information given. We are told that the marginal cost of producing the film is constant, and the cost of producing the camera is 0. So we are asked to find out what price to charge for the film and what price to charge for the camera. Now, assuming that everyone has not owned a camera yet. Now, if nobody owns a camera yet, then what price should you charge for the film and the camera? Now, first thing, in order to solve this problem, you have to find out what's the demand curve. Now, relevant demand first. It's the demand for the film or the camera actually. You have to find out the actual demand. Otherwise, you got it wrong. Just like I think car. Now I'm sure everyone who buy a car, you must also buy what? You buy a car, you must also buy petrol. Right. So can you give me the demand? The demand, the actual demand is the demand for car or petrol. You buy car, for sure you need to buy petrol, right? You cannot run your car with condensed milk. So the actual demand is which one? You are buying a car or you're buying petrol? The demand function. Your relevant demand function. I'm sure your relevant demand function cannot be petrol, right? Because if you argue on that line, I can also tell you, you buy a car, you need to buy 4 tires. Right? Because your car without the 4 tires, also useless. You have to carry the car yourself. So, is the demand, the actual demand is the demand for car or petrol or 4 tires? Obviously cannot be 4 tires. Why you have to buy 4 tires for what? You buy it because of this car, that's all, right? So the actual demand is the demand for cars. So which means in mathematics, when you solve this problem, you have to calculate the demand for cars. Not the demand for petrol, not the demand for the 4 tires. Okay? The actual demand is for cars. The petrol and the tires, you just have to buy it, count it up. Right? The demand for me, what's the relevant demand? Your demand is the demand for the film or for the camera. Which is the actual demand? Your relevant demand is for the film or the camera. Which one you actually buy or wish to buy? The film or the camera? Just like a car, right? I don't believe your demand is for petrol. Do you get any utility buying petrol? You got any utility by smelling of petrol? That's all you can do, right? But I think your actual demand is for car. So here, the actual demand is the demand for car or film. I mean, for the actual demand is the demand for camera or the film. Which one gives you utility? Which things give you utility? The camera or the film? Huh? Cannot be camera. If it can be camera, I think today all the men cannot be today. The housewife just buy the husband and camera. The husband look at the camera, and the camera look at the husband, and they both get satisfaction. Right. Do you actually get any satisfaction looking at the camera? The camera look at you, you look at the camera looks like a human being because you got eyes also. But do you get any satisfaction looking at the camera? Impossible, right? As I said before, if that is possible, every man, you just buy them a camera, they won't go out and misbehave. Right? You look at the camera and you derive as utility from looking at the camera. So certainly cannot be the demand for camera. Camera does not give us satisfaction. It must be the demand for what? The film. It's the film that gets you very excited when you look at it. Drama, the picture, you look at yourself, you get excited. Okay, so the actual demand must be the demand for the film. Okay, it cannot be for the camera. So therefore the relevant demand curve is the demand for film. So here we have the demand for the film. Now, can you amend this? Change this to this. So there's a typo everywhere. Camera cannot give you satisfaction. Okay? just like petrol and the tire cannot give you satisfaction. Okay, now, so if you are a Polaroid, if you look at the demand for film, so we're going to use a second degree price discrimination to read everything out from this guy. Alright, you see this as everything. So we set price to the marginal cost. This is the marginal cost. So we set the price to here. Now if we set the price to P star, the quantity demanded will be Q star. Now from 0 to Q star, the consumer going to pay P star, P star, P star, P star, P star, P star. So therefore the P star allows the company to extract this whole rectangle from you. Alright. Then you will set the price of the camera to the consumer's address, this triangle. And the price of the camera cannot exceed this triangle. Because don't forget, this whole thing is total what? Willingness to pay. So you cannot touch him a total amount for the package that exceeds this total willingness to pay. Alright, so therefore in this case, for the film we have set the price to P star, and we set the price of the camera to the consumer's address. Okay? That will extract this entire willingness to pay. So that's the maximum we can go. Okay, any question? Now this is the case when everyone has not owned a camera yet. Now part B of the question is, suppose everyone already own a camera, and then the job becomes very simple. Because if everyone has already owned a camera, as the manager of the company, you do not need to think about camera anymore. You only need to think about what? What price do you set for the film? That I think all of you know. If you only have to decide on the film, alright, that is very simple. Change this word. Change this word. There's a typo here. So all you have to do is, as a monopolist, to find the profit maximizing quantity and price, is found here. So you set MR to MC. So this is the quantity, and therefore this is the price. That's all. Now this price, this is the profit maximizing price. Right, simple. Nothing to think about camera anymore. Because camera, everyone has already purchased. And you already know, right, if you want to maximize profit, if there's only one good to consider, the profit maximizing point is always here, MR equals MC. This quantity, and therefore sell at this price. So that will give the firm the highest profit. Okay, any questions? Okay, so if no problem, then let's move on to question number 4. Okay, before you have a monopoly, and the monopoly has 3 customers. Now, the monopoly's cost function is this. Find the monopoly's price and the profit. So how to find the price and profit? Okay, first, to find the price and profit, very simple. The monopolist will always produce by MI equal what? MC. Okay? So we just have to set MR to MC. Now, first thing, can I find MC from here? Very simple, right? The MC, just DC or DQ, we solve. What about MR? How to find the marginal revenue? Okay, we have the demand function. Now, if you have the demand function like this, how to find the MR? Now, how to find the marginal revenue? right or wrong to copy? To copy. It might be wrong. Is this correct? Right or wrong? Wrong. Why wrong? See here. So is this demand function correct? Wrong. What's wrong? The monopolist demand curve, is it this one? No. This is the demand by what? One consumer. So you can find the demand by 3 consumers, what should you do? The demand for 1 consumer. You can find the demand for 3 consumers, what should you do? Right, wrong. You do this, what do you get? Yes, you hear. Alright. This is the quantity demanded by 1 consumer, 3 consumers. This. Alright. Okay. So the fastest way is to look at the answer. See? 3 times this. So that will give the total demand. Okay, this one. So that's it. That will give the total demand. Now from here, then I'm sure you can see we can now find the marginal revenue. Rearrange the demand, the market demand function is this. Okay, so this is your market demand function from here. Now the MR is the same thing, except the slope here is how much? 2 times this. Alright, twice this. Okay, so we have found MR. Marginal cost is very simple, just differentiate this, and so you got your MC. Now the monopolist we know for sure to maximize profit. So you will set this equal, and therefore optimally you will produce 1 unit. Okay, any question? So you know you will produce this. Now, so from here, we can now solve the problem. Now, so we take, given that we produce this amount, to maximize profit, go into the market demand curve, and here we go 1, so the price is this. How much will it be profit? Total revenue minus total cost. So total revenue is price times quantity. Quantity is this, and the price is 1 minus total cost. Now, we are given that its cost, total cost is this, so 2/3 times plus 2 square over 6. Yeah, so that will be total cost. This bracket, and so this monopolist ended up minimizing losses. Now, can you tell me what's the equilibrium output? How much is the equilibrium output? 0, 0. Why? In the long run, it will push down. You agree? You can only lose and lose and lose. After a while, you will lose all. Now, so if you do nothing, the monopolist will close down. It's a question of time, right now, in the long run. So what should you do? So the monopolist now knows that he will close down. So what he do? He will only now sell to customers who pay a fee, a fixed fee, so-called membership fee. Right, just like Singtel, StarHub, they have to pay a fixed fee. Of course, that is not to survive, that's just to maximize profit. Right, so now you charge everybody a membership. Now suppose you still sell at the profit maximizing price. What's the maximum fee that you can charge all the 3 customers? Now, I said before, when you charge your customer a fixed fee, it cannot be so high until what? They won't buy. You agree? Because if they don't buy, you will die even faster. Alright? So therefore, can you calculate for me the maximum fee that we can still charge the customer? And yet, they will still pay. Okay, first, if we still sell back at the same price, the maximum fee that you can charge is here. Now, if you look at the demand function for each customer, you see, this is the demand function for each customer. Agree? So if you draw this, you will see something like this. That's all. Now, if this guy still sell at P equal to 2/3, right now, remember this equation was what? So this is the demand function for each customer. See, when Q equals 0, P equals 1. When P equals 0, Q equals 1. Understand? That's how you get it. Now, if you still sell at the price of 2/3, how much can you sell? You can only sell this amount. If you still sell at the same price, right now, still sell at the same price, the quantity demanded. But now, therefore, you can see each customer, the total willingness to pay is here. You see, this whole thing. So the price equal to 2/3 will take away this rectangle from him, because every unit he has to pay the monopolist 2/3. And then you set the fixed fee to here, the consumer surplus. And I think that's the furthest you can go, because anything more than that, he will not buy. You understand? Okay, so therefore, each customer, the highest fixed fee you can charge is how much? So all you have to do is to find the area of that triangle. So what's the area of this triangle equal to? So it's half a base times height. So half times 1/3 multiplied by the height 1/3. And so in this case, the consumer surplus is here. Finish. Now, will that allow the monopolist to continue with the business? Yes. Because his profit will now become here, but it's all fully covered. And so each customer in charge a fixed fee of this amount. 3 customers will be 3 times this. And this is exactly enough to cover all the losses. And so therefore the monopolist can continue to operate. You understand? You will not have to close down. So in this case, it's very clear. Yes, in the long run, you will continue to operate as long as you charge a fixed fee. And we know these three customers will not leave the industry. Okay. So you see, the monopolist is practicing second-degree price discrimination in the form of so-called membership fee. Right. In our context, it's called the Fixed Fee Act. Any question? Okay. So, if no problem, then let's look at your class. Have I finished? Have I done for you assignment 2? No. Your test next week, you all know. Chapter 8, 9, 10. Chapter 8 is efficiency wage. Chapter 9, market structure. Chapter 10 is oligopoly. Okay, I think if I'm not done for you assignment 2, then I think I'll do for you assignment 2.
Sorry? When is the last day of your class? I think the last lecture.
I think it's next week. Shoot. 7, 20th of March.
20th of
Yeah.
This month we still have the class.
This month.
Yeah.
Until 20th. This month, March. Until 20th of March.
20th of March have a exam paper, the prelim exam. So then should we finish in February?
Oh yeah, 20th February.
Okay. Go back. Yeah.
How to find the optimal demand for extra connection? How to find it? How to find the optimal demand for extra connection? First thing, is this UDD function a straight line or a curve? Remember, we have learned 4 types of UDD function. Straight line, L-shape, and convex. Now I need to know because the way we find the optimal solution varies from the shape of the UDD function. Remember? Now if it's a curve, then the optimal solution is found from where? It is a curve. Now, I think you know, right, if it's a curve, the optimal solution is found where here, the point of tangency. right? Let it be the curve. That means, in order to find the optimal demand for group X and group Y, we need this equation where the slope of the utility curve, MUX over MUY, is equal to what? PX over PY. Isn't it? That's all. So we have to solve these two. Okay, so therefore the issue now is, because if it's a perfect complement, then it's like that, it's different now. So the point now is this a straight line or curve? What do you think? Is this function a straight line or a curve? It's a curve. Okay, good. It's a convex deformity. See? Doesn't look straight. So therefore, the optimal solution is found at where? Group 1, D1. Group 2. Okay, so you have to solve this. Now, in order for you to solve this, what do you need? Now we know we want to maximize this, subject to what constraint? The budget line. It will come into this line. Okay, so I need to solve equation 1. So that's okay, so we have all the necessary ingredients to solve equation 1. So what we have to do is to put this inside equation 1. This and this here. So we end up with one equation, one unknown. So we can now solve for x1. You can solve for x1, you bring the x1 here, and you bring this to the left-hand side. Okay, so we found x1. So now our job is to find out what's in x2. How do you find x2 in before? When you maximize utility compared to this one. So you will satisfy this thing. Right. So now that you found here, your DT can be maximized subject to your constraint, right? You cannot involve. There's no constraint that will go further. Alright. So put this inside here. You can now find x2. You remember? After you found your x1, if you want to find x2, what do you do in mathematics? Substitute into where? Which one? This one? You get your x2. Wrong. 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 This one. Then you can get your x2. Right? Because here the group is called group 1 and group 2. Okay? So to find x2, don't go into the wrong function. So go inside here. And x1 is this. That's where you get your x2. Okay? Okay. So from here we can now find x2. So x2. Okay, we bring this over here. Okay, that would be the optimal example for x2. Okay, so problem solved. So in fact, I think the problem is when we ask you to prove this. See, when we ask you to prove this, you all didn't prove it. Some of you proved, but I think some of you get your x1, but you never get your x2. You get x1 and then suddenly you just put like that. It's get proven. You don't have anything. Just from here suddenly like that. From here you jump to here. It's get proven. Show me that this is equal to this, then you get your marks, right? You cannot just from here, suddenly jump to here, proven, yeah. So very convincing. Okay, any other questions? Okay, no problem, I'll move on to question 2. Any problem? Okay, so now talking about monopoly steel contract supply. If you still contract how much for each customer buy? So P is equal to 2/3. So therefore, the P will be 1/3. This is the transfer advantage. As you can see, his total willingness to pay was equal here. From 0 to 0 is equal here. So the first figure to get that is whole rectangular here. So therefore, the fixed fee F maximum is this one. It cannot be more. More means the total payment when I see is willingness to pay. So therefore, the highest fixed fee F you can charge will be this triangle, which is given by half base times height. So half base times height here. Essentially, the consider the first. Right, so each customer, the maximum membership fee you can charge is this amount. So therefore, 3 customers will be 3 times this. 3 times this. So now you can see the monopoly is no longer 3 losses. Alright, so you can survive. So without the so-called membership fee and there's no way they can survive. They will pay down. So the fixed fee F will help them to cover the loss. Yet the customer will still buy. Okay? So this is second degree margin. Any question? Okay, so no problem then. Move on to third degree margin. So what we have is one group, one price. So that's the third degree margin. Okay. So the monopolist will count different group of people, different prices. One group of prices. So this is the most commonly used type of real world. The bus company use third degree price discrimination. So the bus fare will be the highest, then student will be lower, senior citizens even lower. So this is third degree price discrimination. Different group of people to charge different price. To be a country report, country 1, country 2. Japan will charge this price, Singapore will charge another price. Right. So it's a different group of people, whether it is a different country, different market, different price. So even in airfare, you can see third degree price discrimination. Travel first class, airfare about 3 times more than economy class. So now, if you are monopolist charging different group of people different price, then how should you count that? For example, your bus fare. So if you work for SBS or you work for MRT, what bus fare should you charge to students? What bus fare should be charged to children and senior citizens? So you have to discriminate, charging different groups different price. Now, how to find the optimal price to charge each group of people? Now, to find the optimal price to charge each group of people, so what we do is we look at the monopolist and the objective is to maximize people. Okay, so first the monopolist wants to maximize this and we know his profit in this case comes from 2 sources. So we sell it to the 2 markets. So the profit comes from market 1. So the profit is total revenue minus the cost. Okay, so the total revenue P1 times Q1 comes from revenue from selling to market 1. P2, Q2 is the revenue from selling to market two. And minus the cost. The cost to produce Q1 for market one, Q2 for market one. That's it. So that will be the profit. Now all the next everything you like to cancel them today, they all functions, so they are just for except for differentiation. God will not appreciate this, but anyway, you don't find this annoying, then just ignore it. Now, so we are the function. Now, if you are the monopolist, so how much do you produce? So for country one, to find out how much you produce, so you define the D1. As you can see, there's a Q1 here. So if you differentiate, this becomes what? Total revenue becomes marginal revenue. There's a Q1 here. Here no Q1. So you differentiate becomes 0. There's a Q1 here. Differentiate becomes marginal cost. So set equal to 0 to maximize profit. So this means how much Q1 to produce. Produce until this is true. Now, in the same manner, how much Q2 to produce, so you differentiate this with respect to Q2. This one becomes 0, there's no Q2 here. This one becomes what? MR2, this one MC, Q2. So, the means to maximize profit, you do not need to do this, you just need to memorize this. For country 1, produce until the marginal revenue there is equal to marginal cost. Country 2, MR2 equal to MC. Right. Now one MC because it's obvious, it's in one term. 2 different MR because it's obvious, 2 different market. Right, 2 different market. Each has their own MR. You will produce until their MR is equal to MC. So memorize each of those. I just about for you to solve all your. What happens is most of the time we do that. So I just use the graph to we deal first. So as you know, we every most of the time we have graph just to view for your understanding. First, suppose there are 2 countries. You have Japan and Singapore. So the monopolist is selling to 2 countries. Okay, so Japan demand is higher because the Japanese income is higher, so they have a higher willingness to pay. Singapore income lower, so our willingness to pay are lower than Japan. If you are the monopolist, you are selling to 2 different countries. What price should you sell to Japan and what price should you sell to Singapore? So how to find the optimal price? In fact, price discrimination that is practiced across Japan. So if you go to Japan, you'll see that the price that they sell in Japan is always 2 times more than what they sell outside. They sell to the own Japanese, whether it's electronic or whether food, notice the price is 2 times higher than what they export to Asia. So they are using third-degree price discrimination. Japanese charge more, other countries charge less. Not because they wish to, but because you can see that other countries, our disposable income lower, and so our willingness to pay are lower. Right? So you cannot charge more. Just like you try to charge higher price in Vietnam, you think you can get the market share. Okay, so what price to charge for these 2 countries? Okay, so first thing, the monopoly saw 2 different demand. And can you find for me the market demand? How to find the market demand? How? Now how do we find the market demand? To find the market demand, first you can see For country 2, you only start buying with the price is below here. So if the price is above here, country 2 will buy. Okay? So if the price is above here, will buy country 1. So therefore, the entire demand all comes from country 1. So the market demand. Then, you see what I mean? So if I just, what I do is I copy here, copy from here, and I paste here. Because above this price, the demand all comes from country 1. Simple. Now what's below this price, this critical price, below this, the demand all comes from 2 sources. Country 1 plus, country 2. That's why you can see the demand is higher. Okay? Higher. Because you can see that if it's only from country 1, if it's only from country 1, the demand will not be so high. Had it been only from country 1 demand. So this extra comes from where? At this price, country 2 buy 2 more. So plus 2 more. So therefore the quantity demanded at each price level. Okay. 2 more. Okay. Understand? Naturally it's higher because the combined demand from 1 and 2 added up together. Because below this critical price that you see, country 2 demands also kicks in. So therefore the total demand is high. Okay, so I have a king demand curve, standard inflow income. Okay, we should be very thankful to that inflow. Because without inflow, I think it's time to do all the DOT is very hard. We still have digital inflow of all year, so that we have a very user-friendly. This year is the last time. So after this year, we will so all your calls, I'm going to keep on that. I need no expenses. Now the hardest question will be how I need to say. No, the long question even harder. Are you kidding? Some goes for you. That's the hardest thing. So I want them to be careful, right? But sometimes, without famous, do this very hard. So your first year, your foundation must be solid. Otherwise, you come to year 2. I don't care whether you do ME or you do microeconomics, or you do macroeconomics, you die. You agree on that? You have microeconomics, you have to go through those how I use die, how I think different now. You have passed. Because the big issue is this, how you die. The new person to talk to them, how you die. So you're still not so bad. But after this year, no more. Good and bad. Easy for me. Easy for me to teach. That's my strategy. Okay, anyway, that's just a gossip. I'm not sure. But I think it's true. Okay, so you have your demand this way. Where will the monopolies produce? MI equal MC, right? Okay, so the MI is this. When the demand is blue, the MI is this. When the demand is red, the MI is this. Okay? Now, also you have done this inflow before, right? Why? You have seen this diagram when you do the inflow before. Why this way? Very simple. The output from 0 to here. You can see the demand is this. Okay, so when the demand is this, so from 0 to 50, for instance, from 0 to 30, from 0 to 30, all of you know, right, the demand is this, the MR is same, right, 2 times steeper, that's all right. Okay, now subsequently, beyond 30, beyond the red line, the demand becomes this. Where's the MR? Beyond 30, where's the marginal revenue? This one. Now I hope you should understand. If you forgot, I taught you in oligopolies, right? What you call that? Dominant firm. Now, twice as steep. Why not this way? Starting from here. Isn't it? Twice as steep, why must start here? So I don't know whether it can still be called, but I think under dominant form, I roughly issue that when you say twice as steep in mathematics, if you look at the equation in mathematics, it doesn't start here. It's here. You agree? And twice as steep is actually from here. Okay, so we explain why. You should not start from 30 onwards if the demand is this, so we say 2 times equation. Before 30 is this, MR is this. Beyond 30 is this, so MR is this. Fair enough. Okay, so I think I went through this with you in the dominant first part. I also realized some of you hoping to ask you from neutral to get that you will touch. So now you understand how they move on. Okay, so demand is this, and so the MR is this. Now why are we so interested in the MR? Why? Because monopolist is obsessed with what? MR equal MC. Right now. Every second, the monopolist only stare at 2 lines. MR and MC. Nothing interests the monopolist at all. Nothing. Every second they only look at these 2 lines. That's why we have to find these 2 lines. So the monopolist to maximize profit. So we know for sure they will produce here. And therefore, if you go to the demand curve, the price is this. So this stands for what? P all. P all. This is the price to all. Everyone has to pay this price. All. The whole entire population, this price. Okay, so this is your standard kind of analysis that we have learned in the control economics. You see for ME, we deviate slightly from here. But even that ME, sometimes we require you to calculate this. Now why in intro you learn this is because intro we just make it simpler for you that the monopolists cannot charge different people different prices. Okay? So they can only charge one price. So if you can only charge one price, this is the price. How to find this price? Find this demand purpose, and followed by this MR, set to MC to find this quantity and this price. Now, however, if you can charge different people different price, then the story will be obviously different. You see, the monopolist, if you can charge Japan a different price and Singapore a different price, you will not sell at this price. Because if you sell at this price, the profit is not higher than if you charge different country different price. Why? Simply because the Japanese are willing to pay more. Why charge so low? You understand? Okay, so if you can discriminate, what price should we set for Japan? And what price for Singapore? Okay, so first thing, for the Japanese, we only know the monopolist to maximize profit. You set this. For Singaporeans, you set marginal cost is here. Oh, so that's the marginal cost. So this is where MI to MC. Now for illustration, suppose this is 5. Suppose MI to MC. We draw this line across. So we know the monopolist is producing where MC is equal to suppose this value. So if we draw this line across every point of this line, is what? MC equal 5, right? So the Japanese will produce when MR1 equal MC. Yes. So the MR1 just set the MC line here. So for Japan, to maximize profits, the monopolist will produce this for Japan, and the Japanese are willing to pay up to this price. So in Japan, they will charge P1. Now what for Singapore? Now for Singapore, here, to maximize profit, they ask you to memorize these two equations, right? So for Singapore, we MR2 equal MC here. And so, I will produce this quantity, go to the demand curve. Singaporean are willing to pay this price. So I think you can see that if you can charge different people different price, it's obvious. Japan will produce this quantity, charge this price. Singapore this price. That's you can discriminate. Okay, any other questions? So we don't do this in your year 1 because we want to talk about discrimination. But if discrimination is allowed and if it's possible, then this is possible. Any questions? If there are no problem, then let's move on. So 33 prices. Okay. Now suppose the monopolist can charge different price. So what price will be charged for market 1 and market 2? Now, first thing, this I already told you, which for 33 price discrimination, for market 1 will be this. Market 2. Okay, so you just have to remember this. And from here, so you can work on this. Now first, the demand function for market 1 is this. How to find MR? Same as the demand function, except here it's what? 2 times bigger. Alright, so you can see this is a straight line, here is 1. So here 2. Okay, so we have MR 1 in country 1. Now, marginal cost given as 100, so you set MR1 to MC. So we have 1 equation, 1 unknown. So if you solve for Q1 is 25. So if Q1 is 25, we put 25 inside here. T1 is 125. So in country 1, they will charge 125. Alright, or for student, they will charge 125. Let's say this P2 is for, it can also be the demands are adults, or whatever. Simply just a different group of people. different market. So for country 2 or market 2, so the demand is this, MR is the same, except here the slope is 2 instead of 1. Right, 2 times different. So having found MR2 set equal to MC, one equation 1 unknown, to solve for Q2, Q2 will be 175. So we get Q2 as 175. We put Q2 inside here, so the market price is. Okay, so you can see that if the monopolists can discriminate, very simple. Country 1 sell at 125, country 2 sell at 275. Or student charge 125, adults charge 275. Okay. So what's the profit? The profit is total revenue from country 1. Do we have this? Sure. So we just take T1 times Q1. So that's the revenue of country 1. P2 times Q2. So that's the revenue from country 2. Right. So this is T1 times Q1, T2 times Q2, minus the total cost. Now you can see the average cost is 100. So you take average cost times quantity. Country 1, 25. Country 2, 175. Total quantity 200. Times average cost 100. So your profit is 3125. Okay. So if the monopolists can discriminate, you can see they make this profit. Okay, by the way, if they cannot discriminate, what's their profit? See, the monopolist, suppose this monopolist is a nice person. He doesn't like money. He cares about welfare. He don't charge different price. He just charge a flat fee. What will be the price? If no discrimination is possible, what price will the monopolist charge? How to find it? Cannot discriminate how to find the price. Just I just show you an example. You set MR to -C1. Okay. Can you give me the market demand? If you cannot charge price. Then you find for me this. And the MR Okay, so what we do is, this is the demand from market 1, demand from market 2, right? So we find the market demand, sum it out. This plus how much? Plus this. When you sum them out, when you cannot charge different price, all must charge the same price, right? This and this multiply. Okay. Assign a value for this. Therefore, assign to this and this to D, right? Then now this M1 2 times equal. Set M1 to MC. That's the market output. And then all this is market price. So, is it better to discriminate? What's the profit? How much is the profit? Very much lower. Because you cannot discriminate. You earn a lot less. Okay. If you cannot discriminate, look at the profit. If you can discriminate, the profit is about more than 50%. Right, that's why you can see in the real world, all monopolies possible, they just try to discriminate. This is banned by the law. Otherwise, if it's not legal, every monopolist will definitely discriminate. Okay? The profit can increase by so much. Right, so, and this is 50% more. Now, let's look at question number 6. So this monopolist selling what? Magic oil. So this one is a monopolist. Nobody can produce this style of oil. Okay, so now the demand for magic oil is this. The demand comes from Singapore and Germany. Okay, so there are two types of people who use magic oil, Singaporean and the German. Now, the cost of producing magic oil is very cheap, $4. So, let's do marketing. Now, if goods sold in Singapore cannot be sold in Berlin and vice versa, what price should the monopoly set? So, first thing, discrimination possible? Yes or no? And monopolies practice price discrimination. Is it possible? Well, the word here tells you something. Can the monopolies practice discrimination? Yes. Right. So it's given here. Because it cannot be resold. Okay? Okay, so now if we can discriminate, then what price to sell in Singapore, what price to sell in Berlin? So can we just start with Singapore, set this. Berlin, set this. So very straightforward. So all we have to do is to solve this. So remember the underlying case which we have to do is to find this topic. So for Singapore, the demand is this. To rearrange the equation, so that's the demand for Singapore. And so the marginal revenue will be there, 2 times this amount. Okay. So we set MR to MC, which is 4. So we have QS as this. Right, so in Singapore, the monopolist will produce 23 units. And if you produce 23 units when Q equals 23, what price can you sell? So 50 minus 23, 27. So Singapore price will be 27. German, how much more will you sell in Germany? Now, Germany, the demand function is this. And so therefore, PB is this, MR will be 2 times this amount, 560. Okay? So set MR to MC, that means Germany they will produce 33, and put into here the demand function 33. So the price in Germany will be 37. So if the monopolist can discriminate, then it's very simple. In Singapore, they will sell at this. Germany, they will sell at this. Okay. Now, part B on this. Suppose we say it's possible, and it costs $6 to ship a bottle from Singapore to Beijing. Okay, put it the other way, shipping costs $6. What will happen? And this price be sustainable. Shipping costs $6. And alright, which price will adjust down? Singapore or Berlin? If we say it's possible, and the price be sustainable. Very simple. Singapore $27, Berlin 37. And the price in Berlin be sustainable. Possible, right? We'll come down there how much? 33. Why 33? Because you can buy in Singapore at what price? 37. Pay $6, pay $6 transport fee, and you can sell in Berlin at what price? You buy at 27, pay $6 shipping cost, all in cost you how much? $33. Sell in Berlin for 37, you make $4 profit. Now you can see this, everyone knows how to do the same thing. They buy in Singapore, sell in Berlin. So your cost is 33, you sell at 37. Another guy will sell at 36. And when people sell at 36, you will sell at 35. And when you sell at 35, another guy will undercut you, sell at 34. Eventually, the price in Berlin will be dropped until when? 33, then there will be no more arbitraging, no more profit opportunity. That means, we know, for sure in this case, the price in Berlin will fall from 37 until 33. No more arbitrage. Right. Whereas the price in Singapore, they amend this to ES. ACB is ES. The price in Singapore is still Berlin not what okay. price cannot be 27 and 37. It will not be 27 and 33. Now what happens if shipping cost is 0? It's like this. If shipping cost is 0, can you tell me how we are going to change? Shipping cost 0. How we are going to change? But the price still be this. How much will be the price in Singapore if there's no shipping cost? The global price in both countries will end up with how much? 27? 27. Alright. If not, I can buy in Singapore and sell in Berlin at 23. Another guy will sell at 30. Another guy will sell at 28. Eventually, the price will all come down to how much? 27. Right or wrong? Wrong. Why wrong? Why not 27? If not 27, then what's the price? Now, the monopolist knows very well that if the shipping cost is 0, and they charge different people different price, cannot. You can always buy at the price, at the place where the price is lower, and ship over to the other countries and sell at a higher price, right? Which means eventually the price will come back down to one level, 27. Now, if you are the monopolist, by looking at this, you know that will happen. Right? So what should you do? Sell at 27? No. So what should you do? Maybe you will sell at 27. Maybe. But given the fact that you cannot discriminate, you have to ask yourself, does this price give me the highest profit? So, you know very well you cannot discriminate. That's very simple. Just find out what's the price to sell them if you cannot discriminate. Understand? So if you cannot discriminate, just find out how much to sell. Okay, so back to the case. We have to do this. When you cannot discriminate, try at this time. Because the case when you cannot discriminate, this price will give the firm the highest one, not to yourself. Naturally, you will revise this price. Because you have calculated and find that this is the one that gives you the highest profit, when you cannot discriminate. Okay? You will not let market force take it. You will set the market force. You will set the code. Okay, any other problems? Okay, so if no problem, I think we are done with intertemporal prices. So it's discrimination based on pricing pattern of reducing price over time. So therefore that's what we make it. So the discrimination is based on so the monopoly's price is based on so when you buy a handphone, how does the firm sell it? When you buy a handphone or a TV, the monopolies or the firm will always practice what? Scheming. So what they do? They will scheme the market for those who like to pay more, with the highest willingness to pay. So they'll start at a very high price. The initial launch, Apple will start at a very high price. Why? Apple will scheme the market for those who like to pay a lot more. Then after that, if they start at $1,000, after that, those who want to buy, those who like to pay more, will buy. This is at $1,000. Apple also knows, the group of people who like to pay more, their wishes are really more. It's only this group of people who like to pay less, their wishes have not honored yet. So therefore, they will lower the price and capture the next group of people. So the monopolies will scheme the market for our willingness to pay. Right, after you capture this group, you lower the price, capture another group. That's why you do at the handphone. If you are patient, you wait 6 months, the price will be very much lower. You wait 1 year, even lower. You wait 2 years, maybe 3 years. Right? So this cost scheming. It's a pattern of discriminating prices based on what? The longer, now this is not only applies to handphone, it applies to all electronic products as well. When they first launched TV, plasma TV, they started at 40,000. Now, 1,000 plus you can get plasma. Right. A few years back, you were buying TV, 32, 35 inch, 40 inch, you pay 3,000-4,000. Today, I saw some TV, 55 inch, also start at 1,000 also. Right. It was 1,005. TV even bigger than our 40. So it's getting cheaper and cheaper. So what do monopolies do? They're doing scheming. Alright. So they scheme the market. After these people don't buy anything, they have to lower the price to cater to this group. Okay, ideally, this is the best thing. But then, you see, when I talk about this pricing pattern, where they decrease price over time, you can also see some other form of scheming over the other way. Now the airline also do scheming. If you book the ticket 1 year in advance, very cheap. But if you book the ticket 1 month before you fly, it gets more and more expensive. 1 week before you fly, even budget carrier the price same as high. Why? they skim the market, they know that the people who vote 1 week before they fly, then desperate. So because they are desperate, that's why I can bring you up. Okay? So this is the pattern of increasing prices as it gets closer and closer to the maturity date of the mine. Okay? Okay, so case number 1, I don't want to look at it. Because this assumes that the monopolists can change price every day. Today you capture those who are willing to pay 1,000. Next day you will lower the price to 990, capture the other guy who is willing to pay 990. Third day you will lower to 980. Not impossible because changing price can be very costly. The cost of whatever you do this, every day you will go and change the price tag. Now that can be quite costly. So therefore to be practical, and also people do not like to see this type of thing. Every day you lower the price by $10, $10, $10. So what they do is, let's say they sell 2 different periods. The first year maybe start at $1,000, the second year start at $500. So to make it simple, a 2-period pricing is more okay. Because if you keep on reducing price every day, there will build in this deflationary expectation. People have this deflationary expectation, nobody there to buy. Right? Because you know, I buy today, this day drop 30, this day drop 30, this day drop 30. But if you do this properly, you don't tell them when you will lower it right. After every 6 months and after every 1 year, then they are more willing to buy. Okay, so suppose there's a 2-period, year 1 and year 2. So why practice skimming? Now, if you don't do skimming, what will happen? That is, if you ignore skimming, why is it not better than if you do skimming? See, if you do skim at all, so what will happen is this. Because if you don't skim at all, if you sell everything at one price, right, so if the monopolists have this amount of goods to sell, you're going to sell all at one shot. You sell all, yes, charge fee too. So if you don't skim, you just can't be bothered. You just want to, okay, I want to get rid of all this. You want to sell all this at one go. Consumers are only willing to pay up to 2, right? So what's the consumer's interest? So from 0 to this amount, the willingness to pay are all higher than the price they actually pay. So this area is the consumer's interest. Area TP. Now, don't you think it's better to skim? If the monopoly stays low, why should I sell more at this price today? If I launch Apple, there are bound to be some people who want to hold the Apple right, to pay a lot more. So therefore, the first period, don't you think it's better if you charge P1? Now, if you charge P1, what the monopolist trying to do is, he's trying to skim for those who are willing to pay a lot more. So if you charge P1, how much can he sell? Well, he can sell P1. Why? Because those people, when you sell P1, these people are all buying. Because all these people are willing to pay more than P1. And so if you sell P1, the consumers think the monopolist is crazy. They're willing to pay so much more. Now you sell P1, right? For sure they will buy. That's why you can see you can sell the P1. Now, why you cannot continue to hold on to this price? You can never sell anymore. No way you can sell something. Because the people who have not purchased, they won't buy at all. Who are they? Those, yeah, they're all willing to pay less than P1. Okay, so if we sell at P1, we can sell Q1. What is the consumer's interest? The consumer's interest is here. P1, no one will buy. That's why you see in the market for 6 months, no buyer, then they lower the price to P2. If you lower the price to P2, who will buy? This group of people who have not bought yet, they are willing to pay more than P2. So now you suddenly lower the P2, they are so happy they'll buy another. So therefore the monopolist can sell this additional amount. Right? And where's the consumer surplus from year to year? This time here. So if you are the monopolist, looking at this diagram, is it better to sell everything one shot, Q2 and P2, or to use skimming? Year 1 sell at P1, so you can sell at Q1. Year 2 sell at P2, so you can sell this as well. Skimming better if you are a monopolist. Of course. Because if you don't skim, the consumer's surplus is this one here. The consumer's welfare, or the consumer's benefit is this one here. Now, but by skimming, the consumer's benefits is now reduced to what? This triangle and this triangle. This rectangle is loss. It goes to who? The monopolist as profit. Right. Here we call benefits. Benefits in money terms is called profit. So by using skimming, the monopolist can increase their profit. It takes away this part of your benefits. Understand? Of your consumer surplus. Simple. So of course skimming is always better than if you don't skim. So electronic products, those who are patient, normally can get much cheaper. Okay, but of course if you are patient then, but also some people also will not want to buy it cheap. I was told if Apple sell low, they will buy. When they first launched this 1,000 plus, they really buy because then people around this 1,000 euro plus development nuclear pool. But if it's still $300, then the prestige is also much less. So Apple is aware of this. So that's why, in fact, all manufacturers are aware of this. So they use skimming. Now, if possible, you skim the market. A few rounds is even better. Right, but I think for electronic, the time limit for you to skim the market is limited. Because it tends to get obsolete quite fast, maybe 2 years. Okay, so they have to skim very quickly. Okay, so that means that we change the model quite frequently. You can see people say the Apple 5C and 5S no difference. That really no difference. Only one feature is one to put your account and turn on the app. And to recognize the account. That's for 5S. Not $600 more. So then so the scheme of how if you look at this example, scheming, how to scheme. Okay, maybe I tell you what. Let me show you step by step. You have a monopolist who try to use skimming. So he's selling microprocessor, 2 years horizon. So this microprocessor can do this for 2 years. After 2 years, it will be. So what does monopolist do? So the demand function for microprocessor is this. Okay, so if you draw this, that's the demand curve. Okay. Now, production costs are negligible. The cost of producing is 0. And so the question now says, suppose the seller can sell such different prices in year 1 and year 2. So what price will he charge? Okay, that means this question is a question of what? what price you charge in year one and what price you charge in year two. Okay, first thing, the demand function. Okay. Price in year two. Is the price in year two a function of this one? Is the price in year two a function of E1? Yes or no? Definitely right. Because how much you can sell in year two depends on what. How much you already sell in year one? If in year one you sell at $10, in year two you cannot sell at $15 anymore, right? It will be less than that. If in year one you sell at $5, in year two you must sell more than 5. So the price in year two depends on how much you charge in year one. Right. Okay, so to solve this problem, how you solve? From here or from here? Which one first? Which one first? Start from here or here? What? In English, this one is called what? What do you see here? The tree. Right? What? I also told you before, every time you see a tree, what you do? Always go by the back. Always go by the back. Okay? So I start here. Which means, so in year one, we sell E1. And so how much can he sell? At P1, he sells Q1. Who have not purchased yet? Here. So only this group of people have buy, because when you sell at P1, they are willing to pay more. But this group are not willing to pay more. Which means the people who have not purchased in year two is this one. Give me the demand curve. Give me the mathematical equation of this line. I have to start at year two. So give me the demand for year two. What's the equation of this blue color line? Since we have to start here. So year two, the demand curve is blue. What's the equation of this line? If you don't know, very simple. Is this. Wait, let me show you one. Year two, the demand is this. Year for one. What's the equation of this line? Here. Okay, so it's here for one. Year two, the equation of this line is P. Right, P is equal to what? P1, the slope is 1, minus 1 times Q. Now, so what are all these two? These two are just discrete. This variety is P, right? So why you put P2 here? This variety is the price in year 2 is equal to the price in year 1 minus 1 times Q. This Q is the quantity in year 2. Understand? That's all I need. Just the name. Otherwise, it's just P equal 1 minus Q. Clear or not? The subscript is to tell you this is the price in year 2. This is the price in year 1. This is the quantity in year 2. That's all I need. 2 is just to tell you the quantity. So that's the equation of this one. Simple? Okay, so that's the demand function for year 2. Clear? Okay, so we start from here. Now, if in year 2 the demand function is this, so what will happen? Okay, so from here, if you rearrange the equation, you get this. So that's the demand function in year 2. So, we start from year 2. The objective of the monopolist is to maximize profit, which is total revenue minus total cost. Total revenue is P2 times Q2 minus total cost. Where's the total cost? Anyone? Read here. Cost is how much? 0. Okay? Now, so the monopolist has to decide what's the optimal P2 to charge. So this is the decision variable. He has to decide what's the optimal P2 to charge here in order to maximize his profit. So we d pi 2 will be P2. Okay? Now first, P2. Sure, I have to differentiate. Do I need to differentiate Q2? Is Q2 a function of P2? Yes, alright, Q2 is this. A function of Q2. So Q2 is this, so we have to put inside here. And so this is of Q2. So we have to differentiate. And so you d pi with dp2, and you set to 0. The monopolist to maximize profit. We found that in year 2, he should sell at how much? Half the price that he sell in year 1. Okay, problem solved. So we already found the optimal price to maximize profit is in year 2, you will charge a price which is equal to half of what he sell in year 1. So this price will give the highest profit. This price. Now, if this price giving the highest profit, then what will be his profit? Even there is profit is this, right? The profit is here. Even the profit is this, right? So since this price gives the highest profit, put this price inside here, and this P2 inside here, and so it's profit in year 2. Right? Because for sure we know we will set the price P2 to this value. So put inside here. And here. Now, so the 3 after you solve year 1, what do you do? After you go, you finish this. So after solving this, and now you go here. Right? Okay, so now we look at year 1. Now, so year 1, of course, the monopolist wants to maximize total profit. And so total profit comes from year 1 plus year 2. Okay, can anyone tell me how come there's a discount factor here? Why? This is to do what? Finding the present value. Right, year 2 profit discount to year 1. Now, this number we can throw away. Why? Because we are told that this is how much? This amount, right? So therefore, we can write this as 1. So you can ignore it. So this is 1. Now, year 1, the profit is total revenue minus total cost. Cost is 0. Year 2, the profit is this. So that's the year 2 profit. And so now very simple. The monopoly's overall objective is to maximize total profit, comprising year 1 profit plus the discounted year 2 profit, which is this. And so now he has to decide. He already found what's P2. He has to decide what's the optimal P1 to sell to maximize profit. So in D pi will be P1, and therefore set to 0. So therefore P1 will be 2/3. Naturally, if P1 is 2/3, P2 is half of 2/3. Okay, so that's the optimal price. So in year 1, sell 2/3. Year 2, lower the price to 1/3. And that will give this monopolist the highest profit if he decides to scheme the market. Okay, any question? Okay, so no problem, I think we go for so some monopolists they will do demands one during the peak period and one during the off-peak period. Okay, so the P stands for peak demand, the O stands for off-peak demand. Okay, so there are 2 types of demand. So in some industries, there are always 2 types of demand. Okay, so we have a peak period demand and an off-peak period demand. Okay, so that's what we have in some industries. Now, in the case of
I'll show you. Let me find her. I didn't even know whether I got replied.
peak demand,
Quite long ago.
so what this simply means is
Maybe I deleted the message.
this is the demand during the peak period. And O stands for off-peak demand. So this is the demand during the off-peak period. Now, we normally see this kind of industry is found in DD companies. Telephone companies saw 2 demands. One peak hour, so that's called the peak demand, 9 to 5. Another kind of demand is the off-peak demand. From 9 p.m. onwards. This is people use alright, so when you have 2 demands, 2 different demands. One during the peak period, one during the off-peak period. So what price should you charge? So if you are hired by the firm, and you are supposed to set a price. So what's the price that you should charge during peak hours? And what is the price that you should charge during off-peak? Right, so I think you know telephone company normally peak hours from 9 to 7, right? So during this peak hour, what price should Singtel charge? And then from after 7 hours, Singtel knows that people hardly call. But whatever they talk, they want to talk, they already talk. So at night, there's nothing else to talk. Right, so therefore, this is all about it. Now, QP stands for the quantity produced during the peak period. Q0 stands for the quantity produced for the off-peak, to satisfy the off-peak period. Right, so the quantity demanded for the off-peak, and QP is the quantity demanded during the peak period. Now C is the cost to produce QP and Q0. And now if you want to produce telephone services, you build a factory, and the factory for that plant. Plant stands for the factory. Right, factory size. Now if you are building a factory size with a capacity on the size scale, so this Now, if you are building a factory to produce Q0 and QP, so the size of the factory should be set to QP or Q0. The size of the factory if you are building, you should build a factory size that can produce up to Q0 or QP. Of course, QP, because the quantity demanded during the peak period is always higher than the off-peak period, right? So the size of the factory must be set to QP. Now, if you set to Q0, then obviously the size of the factory cannot produce up to QP, right? And we know QP is always greater than Q0. Okay, and most equal. Now the cost, the investment cost of the factory is how much? So the investment cost per unit of capacity is equal to C per unit. Okay, so if you are monopolist facing two different demand curves, so what's the optimal quantity and price that you should set for each demand? So you write down the profit function, total revenue. Now in this case, the profit comes from two sources, right? The total revenue earned from selling the goods or the services during the peak period, plus the revenue earned from selling the goods or services during the off-peak period, right? The off-peak period, minus the cost to produce QP for the peak period, minus the cost to produce Q0 for the off-peak period, minus one more investment cost. Now the size of the factory is equal to K, and we are told that the investment cost per unit of factory size is C. Therefore the total investment cost is K times C. Okay? Now, but we also know that if you want to build a factory, the size must correspond to QP, not Q0. So therefore we can set K to QP. Okay, so the profit function of the monopolist therefore becomes total revenue, which is from the peak period is TP times QP. Total revenue from the off-peak period is P0 times Q0, minus the cost to produce QP, minus the cost to produce Q0, minus investment cost. Okay, so the objective of the monopolist is to maximize this profit. Okay, so we have set up the profit equation. And so, from the subject line, we see that she considers two types of, there are two different cases to consider. So what are the two cases to consider? Case number one is that we assume that the factory size is fully utilized during the peak period. So the factory is only fully used up during the peak period. Now, it means if the factory is only fully utilized during the peak period, so implicit in case one, which is greater? If the factory is only fully utilized during the peak period, right? Which number is bigger? Must be right. If they are the same, then you will also be, the factory also will be fully utilized during the peak period, right? Definitely. Since the factory is only fully used up during the peak period, this must be less than. Okay, so first, on the previous page, the profit function. Now, if the monopolist now has to decide on what quantity to produce for the peak period, so you G pi OD QP. And what quantity to produce for the off-peak period, G pi OD Q0. Okay? And that will give you the optimal QP. Now, if you differentiate this profit with respect to QP, all the way comes from their function, right? So their purpose is to control QP. don't like this, and ignore the condition. No problem. Now, if we did high value QP, this will become marginal revenue. Now there's no QP here, so this will become 0. This becomes marginal cost. No QP here, so it becomes 0. There's a QP here, so here becomes minus C. Okay, so to maximize profit, produce up to the last unit of QP until this is true. Produce until where this equation 1 is satisfied. Now from Q0 to D pi over D Q0, this becomes 0, this becomes marginal revenue. There's no QP here, so here becomes 0. There's a Q0 here, so here becomes marginal cost, MC0. And here is 0, there's no Q0. Set equal to 0, and therefore, how much Q0 to produce? Produce until marginal revenue equals marginal cost within the off-peak period, until 2 is satisfied. Okay. Okay, so in your subject line, you will see there are 2 cases that you need to consider: case 1, case 2. Now let's look at case 2. Now for the case 2, what will happen is we assume that the capacity is fully used up in both periods. Now this assumes, this suggests certain things. This implies that this must be true. Agree? If they are fully used up in both periods, then these 2 must be equal. And so we assign a value called Q to it. Okay? Now in which case then the profit function becomes easier. So if they are fully utilized in both periods, obviously these 2 must be the same. So therefore we can write as this. So we can write this as Q, this as Q, this as Q, this as Q. They are the same thing. Now if you write all as Q, that means there's only one thing you need to do. You don't have to fine tune these 2 anymore. You solve for Q, you found both. Right? So therefore you just d pi over dq. This will be MRP. This will be your, there's a Q here, become MR. Here becomes marginal cost. Marginal cost becomes 2 times this. Here becomes C. Set equal to 0, that means, therefore, how much quantity to produce? Produce up to the Q where equation 3 is true. That's all. So which case will the monopolist use? So if you combine solving equation 1, 2, and 3, that will give you the optimal quantity and price for you to find your profit. So the monopolist will choose the case which gives the highest profit. Any question? Now, if you look at your production cost is the same for both. And we are told the production cost is how much? Now, we are given that the cost of capacity, the investment cost, the release of output is 10. So find the price that we expect during the peak period and off-peak period. Okay, so if we are hired by Singapore Power, the electricity company, monopolist. So Singapore Power asks you to set the price for the peak period and set the price for the off-peak period. What price will you set? Okay, first thing. If I look at the demand during the peak period, it's this. Okay? So, if I rearrange the equation, I get this. Can you amend this error? There's a typo error. This should be P. Peak period, dP. Change it to the pink color star. You see? Should be pink color is correct, not PQ. Okay, so the peak demand is this. What about off-peak? What's P naught? The demand during the off-peak period is this. Rearrange the equation, and you get this. Okay, so capacity cost $10. Now, first thing, I will do case 1. I assume this is true. This is a normal assumption. Right, naturally this is greater than Q naught, right? Case 1. Now first I'll write down the profit equation of the police. First thing, his objective is to maximize profit. So total revenue earned during the peak period plus the total revenue earned during the off-peak period minus the cost to produce QP for the peak period minus the cost to produce Q naught for the off-peak period minus investment cost. Now the size of the factory is equal to K, but we always set K to what? We always set K to this amount. Alright, so we take the size of the factory, multiply by the investment cost per unit of factory, $10. So that will give us the total investment cost. Okay, so from here, we can now solve for QP and Q0. Now first, we know that TP is this. And so we have to write this as well. We have to satisfy this constraint. Okay? So since PP is this, so therefore we have to write this PP as this amount. Now we also know P naught is this value. And so it's constrained to be this. So what should we do to this P naught? Constraint in English means what? You must obey. So you have to be obedient. P naught. Okay? So what's the cost to produce during the peak period? The cost function is given here, 100 plus Q squared. So the cost to produce QP during the peak period is 100 plus QP squared. The cost to produce during the off-peak period is 100 plus Q naught squared. Okay, so minus the investment cost. Okay, so we have all the necessary ingredients now to solve the problem. So how much QP to produce? To maximize profit. Find the quantity that gives the highest profit. In this case, so we are trying to find the optimal QP. So in D pi will be QP. So simple differentiation, right? Nothing much to talk about. Very simple. So let's sum this. So we have one equation, one unknown. If you solve for QP, QP will be 22.5, which means to maximize profit. During the peak period, the monopolist will produce 22.5 million, and this will give you the highest profit. Now, if 22.5 gives you the highest profit, therefore, what's the price that you can sell producing this quantity? Put this QP inside here, 22.5. Therefore, the optimal price to charge during the peak period to maximize profit is 100 minus 22.5, 77.5. Okay? Now, how much to produce for the off-peak period? So d pi over d Q naught. So if we differentiate with respect to Q naught, we have this. Again, one equation, one unknown. We solve for Q naught is 16.7. So this quantity will give the firm the highest profit to produce for the off-peak demand. Since they produce this, how much can they sell it for? Put it inside here, and so P naught is this. Understand? Any questions? So we have found the optimal price and optimal quantity to produce. Now, again, the problem here is the typo error from here goes below. This should be P what? PP. You cannot see. It should be PP. Pink color. You don't have to change the color, just change the word. Okay, wrong top. Now, is the answer correct? Let's check the answer. Are they correct? Or false? See? This answer is correct. No. Let's look at it. This answer is correct. You know how I know it's correct? Because this number is always bigger than this. However, you only know that the answer is wrong if this number is smaller than this one. Because how can the quantity demanded during the peak period be smaller than this? Impossible. So as long as this is bigger, correct, answer correct. That's it. Now, of course, the issue is someone asked me the other day. I mean, how can it ever be wrong in the first place? How can this be smaller than this? Impossible. Right. So I think of an example, I say, maybe it's possible. How? So I think of an example, I say, okay, I change one of the parameters. How come the answer can be different? You see, if I change this to this amount, this here, you see, the investment cost here is this amount, right? You see, if I were to change this to this amount, then I think you can see for yourself the answer will be wrong. Now why? Let me show you why. If I change this number to this here, then what you do see here will be, this amount will be now how much? If I change this number to this, then here will be how much? Will it still be 10? No, right? How much? Okay? So you don't have to copy anything. Just turn on your powerful imagination. Here also will be this. Which means here also will be this. Which means here will be what? When you differentiate with respect to QP, this number will be how much? Alright? You agree or not? That's how only. Because when you differentiate with respect to QP, this number will be 60. Alright, okay, you see, it doesn't take too much, very simple. So if I change the number to 60, what's the QP equal to? Huh? 4QP will be equal to how much? 4QP will be equal to 40, QP will be how much? 10. Agree or not? See, that's the case. I honestly tell you, I just look at this number. Because if this number is not 10, it's 60, I just look at here. And from here, I can see that QT will be equal to 10. You understand? This is, you see here, from equation 1, you'll see here for 1. The only difference if the number is 60, the only changes in your equation 1 is the number is called 60. Agree or not? Agree? So the only changes, this number is 60. And naturally, if this number is 60, QP is equal to 10. Then what's Q naught? Okay, what to do? Just follow me, see carefully. See carefully. Let's do it. Look at Q naught. I don't care whether this number is 60 or 10. This profit equation, if I differentiate with respect to Q naught, this number will always be 1. Whether it's 60 or 10, this whole thing will always become 0. Because why? This is QP. You agree or not? So therefore, it becomes irrelevant whether this number is 1000 or 10 or 60. Because when you differentiate with respect to Q naught, this always becomes 0. And therefore, this equation 2 will always be the same. Q naught will always be 60.7. You will never enter equation 2 at all. Clear or not? Okay, so that's why by inspection I saw this already. So I'm going to solve it. Alright, so just by inspection, if I change the number to 60, this number to 60, you know this my whole solution, right or wrong? Wrong. Wrong. So therefore, you don't tell me there's no possibility that it cannot happen. Everything accident can happen. Now, go for wedding dinner, you do a research. On wedding dinner, you go. Look at them three people. How much salary? How much salary? One month old a year. Not 9 months, 7 months. You come back so you cannot say no to me. Now, the most important thing is if you have what to do. Are we going to accept this? And not why? You know very well that how can this be smaller than this? Impossible. In this peak period, what? Everybody go to office? No. Be quiet. After off-peak period, after 9 o'clock, everybody start office. Call each other. Say, are you the same? Let's do it. Can I get this to you? I very short in 1 hour with you. Because something impossible, right? How can this be smaller than this? Okay, if that's the case, let me tell you what you do. If the answer is wrong, can you present the wrong answer? Common sense that you cannot. So what should you do? You have to do case 2. If your answer is correct, do you have to do case 2? Don't need. But if your answer is correct, just like here, the answer is correct here, right? Stop. This is the end of the story. Why you have to do other case 2? You only have to do other case 2 is if your answer is wrong. So if your answer is wrong, it cannot be a right answer. That's why then you go and do case 2. Understand or not? Okay, so don't go and do case 2. Although you're a subject guy, you say, okay, if you find both copies, don't bother. You proceed with the answer. So you do case 2. Why the answer is wrong? Because QP is equal to Q0. That's why you get wrong answer. So we go to case 2. Number one. First, the Q is the same. The is the same. For the coffee equation, you can write this in form. You can write this as Q, 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 right? These are all the same. I assign a value for Q. Now, the only difference I think here, remember, the investment cost now is they give us problems now. 60, right? Okay, so this is 60. So the only changes is here. Then, how to find QP and Q0? Now, we will find QP and Q0, I think we need to find separately. You find Q is what? Power 1 and power 1. Okay, so I think we just have to find Q. Common on QP. This will be okay. What price do you sell? What price is now for coffee? So how to find TP? Okay, go on. You should not do this unless the answer is wrong. If the answer is not wrong, you just stop. Understand? If the answer is wrong, common sense for you, now present.